well. We're ready to go for picks and bans for game number 2 here. Obey, even though they're already qualified for Valencia, that still means something to them, Taco. They want to secure as good of a seed going into that tournament as possible.
Yeah, seeding definitely still matters and is still on the table here for Obey Alliance, considering how close behind them Astral Authority are. So don't wanna drop your first seed potential. And already just gonna see the Zeus ban right away from Obey. That's,
Mr. Teep died 0 times, and anytime you got a Zeus that dies 0 times, you've won the game.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, in my mind. I mean, Zeus, if he can stay safe and put out damage like Teep was able to do, you're going to have a good time. And so Obey immediately take that off the board. Exact same bans from Elevate, Raven, and the Wukong. This means Osiris is open, and this time Dwurst going to have a little bit of an easier time being the bully in that lane.
I think that Dwurst was pretty fed up after that last game and having to play the Odin, because Odin's not really a guy that you get to be a lane bully on. Ymir, you actually can do a little bit of the lane bullying, granted, as long as you get your blue buff, which he was able to secure, but Dwurst being stripped of that first couple of buffs and then just falling behind from the ganks, it just made life so rough for him. But we see it already. Nemesis worked the first game.
Why not? Soul was okay there for Delta Marine. Took the first loss of the split whenever Obey get Delta Marine, one of his signature mid laners, but never really had a chance to. Soul is one of those characters that is going to put out damage throughout the game no matter what, but doesn't have that burst potential into the hyper late game, and we just never saw that from Obey, as they also get Medusa for Mancer in that duo lane. Ymir, again, for Elevate. You gotta assume that's going to be in the solo lane for Nexamiss.
And Ymir works really well as far as walls are concerned for blocking off the Soul and Medusa. They're not going to have a very easy time getting around those, so his walls have already been on point as well. I like the decision making there.
A Willish band away from Myflin, and then Geb from Jelly. Obey continuing to try and focus out Mr. Teep in that mid lane. Thoth, their first ban, and Poseidon, their second. So Elevate's mid lane are going to have to go a little bit deeper into that God pool. Chang'e, the pick for Gryphon in that duo lane. This time a little, you can't afford to play that passive on Chang'e as he did on the Cupid, right?
I don't know. Chang'e is probably even safer than Cupid, like realistically, because of her excellent escape with her ultimate, or even her knock up and dash. I mean, she gets a lot of movement speed off of that, and so her movement speed in general can be kind of hard to catch up with. But I like the decision. Obey looking for that typical wombo combo with the Athena Medusa. A lot of beads burners on the side of Obey. For Elevate, I could see maybe the Vulcan. It's going to be a Chang'e.
Chang'e. So plenty of CC on this Elevate composition between the Ymir and Ganesha. Chang'e could potentially flourish here, but you usually see the Chang'e against big bursts of damage to a unit. This time around, that Moonlit Waltz should really be saved for the Athena taunt every time, right? Trying to prevent yourself from having to use those purification beads.
Athena taunt or the Fenrir ultimate. You should never really be getting caught off of a stone, like a dry Medusa ultimate. If the Petrify is catching you off guard, then that means that your team's probably getting ganked, the wards weren't available, or a crazy team fight is happening.
Saw, I believe it was Rival continuously ban away Chang'e on the European side of the console league. Elevate now taking it here in North America, though, in the mid lane, usually seen in the jungle, at least as of late. Though a lot of console mid laners love Chang'e in that mid lane. Why, I'll never really understand, but that's just because I'm old and curmudgeon-y. I like the old gods, man. Like, I want to play Ra. I want to play Poseidon. I want to play Isis.
What kind of gods did you play when you were on a team with Chapo?
I only wanted to play Giannis, but he would never let me. He's only allowed to play Raijin. Invade here by Elevate on the right-hand side. Obey did get the minis here, and Myflin going to go aggressive. DoctorL going to use the beads, but there was no CC waiting for him. Now Myflin has to use his beads because he's slowed down. Oh, that Ganesh one just didn't quite close the gap, but it's Elevate who end up on top. Mr. Teep and Kenshin were on the way. No support coming from the side of Obey.
That's unfortunate for Myflin. A little surprised that he didn't opt to take his leap as the first ability, because you do get the cooldown reset if you land on enemy gods. It can sometimes give you a slightly better chance as far as securing kills.
A little bit more damage on the Brutalize at level 1, but you're right. If you can get the stun auto attack, then maybe not. Double taunt there from Jelly, and Teep actually burns the purification beads. Don't think he was in a lot of trouble there, Taco.
I think that's more so kind of like a reflexive beads burner right there. You kind of just anticipate if Athena is going to be taunt dashing me underneath my T1 tower line, there's probably something else coming after.
Oh, it was only a stellar burst, and Level 2 Stellar Burst max right now, being at level 3 for Soul. Probably not the most damaging ability. Does have 2 points in Stellar Burst, so that's about as much as you're going to get either way. Again, Mr. Teep does have that Moonlit Waltz to get him out of danger without Purification Beads, so can afford to be a little bit more fast and loose with the defensive relics on a god like Chang'e.
Mancer just took a huge chunk of his health. Like, that was a lot of damage from the oracles, but that solo farm is pretty nice.
And Gryphon already back to base. He's going to pick up those back harpies. This is what Jingwei does. You clear a little bit, you back to base, you pick up back harpies, then you clear a couple waves, go back to base. Like, as soon as those back harpies respawn, most Jingweis are going to be backing on cooldown. You can basically put a little Jingwei sign on those back left harpies. Property of Gryphon, at least for this game. He went for the Ninja Tabi Rush. We see some Jingweis do this, and again, just one wave, immediately back to base, because you know with that Jingwei passive, you're not going to miss any waves.
You're not going to miss anything, and you can, again, just farm out those back harpies. So I'd imagine every single time that Gryphon gets enough gold to build the next tier of the item that he's looking for, he's just going to back every single time.
He's low on mana here. Who cares? I'll just go back to base, get my mana bar refilled. Looks like Gryphon is going to go for the Devourer's Gauntlets, at least based on that spiked gauntlet that he started off with, a little bit more late game oriented. With the way Gryphon played game 1, I think that's the right build for his playstyle.
And I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with opting for that Devourer's Gauntlets early on. Jingwei can definitely profit from it because it might mean that he's looking to go for an Executioner Rush, which could also mean crit build. And crit builds are pretty effective on Jingwei.
Getting that extra critical strike chance from her second ability, Explosive Bolts, meaning that you can really get almost 100% critical strike chance later on in the game with those 3 auto attacks. That, you know what a big part of that second ability is that no one really talks about? Those auto attacks are massive. They are so much bigger than the regular
No, that was
arrow.
A huge complaint about her back in the day, because when she had the Fatalis effect and she could gas pedal you down, it's like people thought that it was incredibly unfair because her second ability auto attacks were pretty much unmissable. It was like worse than Freya gumballs.
Those are that's always the one that I think of when I think of big auto attacks is Freya.
Freyas
Pulse,
are like half your screen.
How do you miss? How do you ever miss? Freeze onto Jelly from Nexamiss, but immediately he's taunted in. Myflin is here alongside Deltamarine. Myflin knows he's safe to use that Brutalize. The aggression from Elevate, though, is on to Dwurst. Now Myflin going for that Ragnarok ultimate. Gonna find Teep, who didn't have the Purification Beads, remember, but just got him up in time. Ultimate from Jelly was there to support in case Myflin needed it, but Elevate feel comfortable enough to start up this blue.
And I think that Obey aren't willing to give it up without a little bit of a fight. I mean, the entirety of Obey is kind of just hanging around the side there, and I do believe that they managed to steal it away.
Looks like it. Nexamiss didn't grab it. Meanwhile, on the left, Mancer almost found that solo kill onto Gryphon, traded ultimate for ultimate. No relics used by either side, but that usually favors Jingwei, right, Taco? Just back to base, heal up, and get right back, whereas Mancer, being this low on mana, probably going to need to back fairly soon.
Most of the time it would favor the Jingwei, but it's actually Gryphon who's fallen pretty far behind in XP. You shouldn't typically fall this far behind on the Jingwei, which leads me to believe that Mancer's been kind of bullying him out of these waves.
Mancer has been left on an island all by himself during this set, and in game 1, didn't have a bad game by any stretch, but also just wasn't able to quite find that oomph in the late game that you kind of want from your hunter whenever you're giving them this much solo farm.
And I mean, it's kind of understandable having a non-CC immune ultimate. Speaking of non-CC immune, Mr. Teep taking a huge chunk of damage from that solar burst.
Again, now doesn't have the Purification Beads for about a minute longer, and wouldn't be surprised to see Jelly and Myflin really look for him. You could see C-Chain pretty well against the Chang'e between the Stellar Burst, Supernova combination, and a taunt. That's what might be why we see Jelly and Deltamarine both lurking. Teep gonna head towards his back harpies where he'll meet up with Gryphon and Kenshin, but Obey want to go for it. They want to continue this fight. Gryphon gonna get brutalized, but immediately silenced out. Kenshin is the target.
Oh.
Supernova, Stellar Burst misses, and now a big ultimate out of Mr. Teep, followed up by Gryphon. Deltamarine forced to use his ultimate defensively, and he's trying to get into that Disapparate. Knockup was almost perfectly timed, but not quite. Mancer comes around the corner with the Petrify. He's gonna need Divine Retribution for his trouble. Jelly coming to escape. What deal did Delta Marine make with the devil to get out at 1 HP in every fight? No matter what. It doesn't matter. You can't kill
all
him.
last game, too.
Where do I sign?
It's actually just the soul, I think. Like, he had just enough left on that immunity frame that even though he was knocked up, the initial damage burst from it just didn't count.
The 72 does not fall. That's what he would say to me, and I would just say that was a stupid thing to say. Speed buff is secured by Obey. DoctorL was looking for it, and that's a big buff to secure, even if you're four-way splitting it, because Myflin, again, has fallen behind in this game. And game one, in my mind, in large part, was due to the fact that Nexamiss was massive on that right-hand side, and Dwurst couldn't play that pressure warrior. But in this game, it really has been Elevate's just getting better groupings on that right-hand side for the buff invades.
Plus, that was a really risky engage by Obey, trying to initiate onto Elevate in their own back harpies.
Chasing it all the way down. Knowing Teep's beads were down, I think, was the main reason, but then Myflin went for picking up Kenshin instead because Moonlit Waltz was probably available as just a kind of awkward engagement. Mancer without a lot of fear here, 1v3, still posturing to deny Gryphon some of this wave. Problem is he's losing some of it himself, but I think he's happy continuing his lead that he has. Look at how far up he is. Now gonna get knocked up. Kenshin and Teep decide, all right, this is enough. We're gonna stop you from standing this far up.
That's kind of just. I swear, I don't know what it is about Mancer. Maybe it's a 72. Because any other hunter would have been like 3-man ulted right there.
Yeah, it's the aura of the 72. I don't disagree with you. It clearly works for Delta Marine in that mid lane, and it's working for Mancer right now. It's surviving. Mr. Teep in some trouble in that mid lane. Good patience on the taunt coming out of Jelly. There's the supernova, but a better ultimate out of Teep. It's going to put Delta Marine to 1 HP. To 1 HP.
He will never die. He actually will never die. I didn't really pay much attention to it before, but this has got to be the 5th or 6th time.
I'm telling you, man. We were scrim partners with this team when I was playing, and he just gets out with 1 HP all the time. I don't know what he did. I don't know who he paid off, but I don't blame him. It was probably worth every penny. This man's invincible.
Same cannot be said, though, for these fire elementals as they fall to
You were looking
DoctorL.
to see who had a death and realized that there still hasn't been a kill, so you just went with the minions. Yeah, same cannot be said about all of the minions marching down to their deaths.
Dude,
every
it
single
happens,
wave.
Man.
It does happen. I'm sorry.
All right, I just got right, okay?
Yeah. It wasn't that bad. Osiris has not been able to play that pressure role in the solo lane quite yet, but not having as tough of a laning phase as Dwurst did on the Odin. But Obey's got to find an answer for this Ymir solo because Nexamiss has really ran this right side of the map for the entirety of last game and for the first 10 minutes of this one.
Really the main disparity here between these two teams is in that jungle role and a little bit in the solo lane, but Nexamiss assisting DoctorL so well has really just made these two so, I don't want to say unstoppable because there's always a chance for Obey to just get the upper hand in a team fight, but they have been very on point with each other as far as coordinating is concerned, and it seems like whoever DoctorL ults or whoever Nexamiss freezes is always the primary target in every single fight.
I like what Mancer's doing right now, zoning out. I like what Myflin's doing over here, but now he's got to retreat for eating that Nemesis ultimate from DoctorL. Also had to use the purification beads. DoctorL's were down. Mancer looking again for that solo kill, but Gryphon using that safety of Jing is able to escape. Now the rotation is coming on both sides of the map. Obey, they're rotating to the right. Elevate was thinking about rotating to the left, but realizes they don't really need to. Dwurst needs to be worried about how much damage is going his way. There's a taunt onto Nexamiss. Not much follow-up there out of Dwurst, but now with Delta Marine here, should be some decent damage onto the solo laner. Brings him down to about half HP.
Unfortunately, they're both relatively tanky targets, and Delta Marine doesn't have as much damage as he would ideally want. Bancroft's talent hasn't been completed yet, so Otto's not swinging as hard as they used to.
Mancer still playing up on that left side despite the significant health disadvantage on the right. Myflin trying to get into this engagement, but sitting at only level 9, whereas DoctorL at level 11. Elevate in control on the right side of the map, but for the first time what feels like forever, Dwurst is going to get his own blue.
Dwurst is probably so happy right now. That's like Christmas and your birthday.
It's like It's like you're trying to give up soda, and then you decide you just gotta have one, and that first sip just tastes so good.
You just ruined like so many people who are on no soda diets right now.
I know, dude. I did it for a while. It's so hard. It's so hard. I'm a console guy. I gotta have my Mountain Dew. I gotta have my Doritos. Like, it's what you need. It's my lifeblood.
I think everybody has to have a bag of Doritos. Even if you don't like Doritos, if you play video games, you have to do it just because you need to feed into that.
For the memes.
Exactly.
It's just, you're doing your part. You know, you don't want to be
What kind? You go with the nacho cheese, though, don't you?
I do like, Cool Ranch is also good.
Spicy chili.
Miss me with that.
That sweet chili. The purple bag is the best bag. That's all I know.
Miss me with that. Gryphon has evened things up on the left side of the map. Is now sitting the same level as Mancer and has actually gotten a decent amount of poke onto his tower. Look at this second item here for Kenshin Taco, Stone of Gaia. I like this selection. Not only for the just outright HP and HP 5 means that Kenshin's going to be healthy for the most part, though of course lacking in protections, but it prevents that pickup from Fenrir's ultimate. Counts as a grab, which Stone of Gaia prevents.
And I think that the Stone of Gaia decision here by Kenshin, he's clearly prioritizing trying to avoid anything to do with Myflin, because even though Myflin is a little bit behind right now, picking somebody up and taking them to your entire team is still generally a good way to win a team fight.
Easily. I mean, Mancer is sitting at level 14. He's got plenty of damage now in this build. Delta Marine gets caught sleeping in the middle of the lane. And Teep's going to tuck him in. Kill. First blood going Elevate's way. That's a quick one. Delta Marine just had no idea what was going on. He can die.
It's just... He wasn't left at 1 HP, though. That was the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the problem. Well, now Elevate is looking for an objective. They're going for the Gold Fury, and Kenshin going to drop that ultimate to burn it down. Going down very quickly. Jelly going to try and steal it away. Taunt in, but it's not enough. Elevate get the first Gold Fury of the game. A quick lead goes the red team's way. They get the first blood, and about 14 seconds afterwards, get the Gold Fury. Now 2,600 gold in the lead.
And that's exactly where this draft wants to be. This is a very strong draft from Elevate, and you can see just how well coordinated this squad seems to be despite the recent roster swaps.
Very surprised at how good this team looks right now. I mean, not to say that, you know, I didn't think they'd be able to put up a fight here, but Obey is absolutely one of the best console teams in the world. And Elevate is just one of those teams that, with those roster changes like you mentioned, I mean, Michael Checo and Baronic are two of the best players in their roles. You lose those guys, and all of a sudden you're back to the drawing board in a lot of sense, but not for Elevate. They've really adapted very, very quickly. Looking quite impressive here. Myflin and Dwurst secure another blue buff for the veteran solo laner.
And even Obey are seeming a little bit sluggish. I like, no flack to this squad. I mean, they've been playing excellently so far this split, and even, you know, at the previous splits, but they had a rough time in this set. And Mr. Teep with the taunt, Delta Marine, though, he didn't have any follow-up for it.
Stellar Burst was already used. Kenshin, you could see, flirted with the idea of trying to aggress on a Jelly in that mid lane, but sides probably weren't going to find a whole lot for it. DoctorL going to get picked up here by Myflin. There comes the ultimate and the taunt. Now Obey is on the board. Good punish there from Obey onto a jungler that didn't have any relics.
And that's the damage that Obey are looking for with this composition. Having the Fenrir being able to pick somebody up and take them, or keep them out of position, I should say, is by far their best way to go for catching back up.
Easy kills if you don't have purification beads. That's why we see Kenshin go for the Stone of Gaia, because he doesn't have purification beads, so basically be free kills without them. But unlike Elevate, wherever they got a kill and then the Gold Fury, Obey get nothing after their kill. No tower pressure. Could have potentially gone for Portal Demon, but I don't think anyone wants to fight with Nexamiss right now. So nothing doing for Obey in terms of the stuff after the stuff.
I think it would have been a Portal Demon attempt by Obey if it wasn't for, yes, Nexamiss, and then on top of that, they expended Delta Marine's ultimate just to secure that kill onto DoctorL.
Freeze on a Dwurst, and by this point, the Osiris doesn't care too much about the noise that Nexamiss is making. It's got the Silver Talisman and the Winged Blade. Portal Demon started up by DoctorL all by himself. He's going to be able to get this down to about 2/3 HP before reinforcements arrive, and that's Kenshin and Teep Not a lot of objective burn outside of that Ganesh ultimate. It is getting pretty low, but look at where Jelly is coming around the backside. It does go down in Elevate's favor. Double taunt from Jelly, but no follow-up afterwards. Plenty of follow-up from DoctorL's ultimate as Nexamiss pulls the trigger on the Shards of Ice and finds a second kill for Elevate. Now Myflin gonna pick up Nexamiss, but the silence from Kenshin prevents any sort of aggression onto the character that was in Myflin's mouth. Delta Marine gets almost out, but then the huge Petrify from Mancer stops the aggression. Gryphon trying to clean him up. The ultimate coming out of Delta Marine, and Gryphon likely to fall. Delta Marine continues to survive, and what looked like Elevate was gonna wipe this fight, now they're the ones losing it. DoctorL falls to Myflin as well.
That was an absolutely insane Petrify by Mancer, just catching everybody. They're all funneling through such a tight little corridor, kind of forgetting, hey, if our ADC's here, theirs might be too.
I just can't believe
that he lived?
I can't. What is?
You can't believe that he lived?
I can't believe it that he lived.
And
Tier
then
1
he
tower.
healed so much.
Bancroft's talent, man, massive there. Not only in terms of the lifesteal, but getting so much power. Did you see how much damage that Stellar Burst Supernova combo did to Gryphon? I mean, almost 100-0'd him. Myflin got some good support for him as well. Delta Marine now in a bad spot. Does have his relics available this time around, did not at the beginning of that last engagement, but pathing completely differently than the rest of Obey. Nexamiss is waiting for him on the backside. Wall Purification Beads is good, and the Aegis. Jelly also taunts away Elevate nicely, so Delta Marine pays for his poor pathing with 2 relics.
I mean, like I said, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how that fight just completely 180'd in favor of Obey, but...
Mancer. For me, it's Mancer. It's got to be that Petrify. I mean, stunning, what, 4? It was only Gryphon that got up and over with the airstrike, and that means that Delta Marine and Myflin combined to just blow him up before the rest of Elevate can get there to support.
Just either way, really well executed by Obey. Keeps them from falling drastically far behind, because had that not occurred, I think that would have been potentially a wipe for Obey.
Certainly, and Elevate needs to find this victory if they want to keep their DreamHack Valencia hopes alive. Delta Marine in trouble, uses the sprint provided by Jelly to get some extra movement speed and get out of that slow. Teep looking for him with the ultimate, and he's going to catch him, but Myflin's trying to find a treat for himself. Misses the Ragnarok, though, and shouts to that Moonlit Waltz, getting Teep out of danger. Quick kill there for the boys of Elevate. Now Tier 1 tower in mid getting knocked down. That's 500 gold for Elevate. Good recognition of Delta Marine's relic still being down. Teep chased him all the way down with that Moonlit Waltz ultimate, and all of a sudden it's 3-3, and then Elevate again looking for their second gold Fury. Frenzy is popped by Elevate. Looking to full commit to this objective. No one in the neighborhood for Obey. This one's going to go down. Second of the game goes Elevate's way.
I think Obey kind of just recognized that they didn't really have any solid contests. Even with 3 ultimates having been expended, chasing down Delta Marine into that T2 tower line, there's still just not enough real secure potential between Athena. Maybe Mancer could have come through clutch with a Petrify again, but risking your life and then worrying about the enemy team potentially rushing towards the Fire Giant and ending the game when you still have a decent fighting chance is just not worth it.
Elevate up about 3,000 gold now at the 20-minute mark, and certainly coming to play when they're needed to. Do need some help even if they find this victory. Soar cannot find any victories over Astral Authority if Elevate wants to qualify, but they can only do what's in their control, and that's try to win game 2 here up against the Obey Alliance. Looking at Mancer's ability, went for the Fatalis after the Ichabal. Usually it's Odysseus Bow in that 3rd slot with the Shifter Shield build. How do you feel about this variation?
I actually like the decision to opt for a little bit more damage. I think that Odibo's fine, but on a Medusa, it's better to just go for the pen route.
Got plenty between that Ichabal and Fatalis. Also matches the Fatalis coming out of Gryphon Slays, and Myflin was looking for the ultimate there, but all he got was a Stone of Gaia passive.
3
Nexamiss
Stone of Gaias, actually.
Has one as well, yeah. DoctorL even joining that party. Jelly joining the party as he uses the ultimate to get right on top of Dwurst. Here comes Delta Marine around the backside. Decent Stellar Burst, pretty big Supernova as well, but just not enough damage. Myflin with a triple stun though, and now Dwurst is going aggressive. Teep very low, good ultimate out of him, stuns out multiple members, and keeps everyone off of his back. Jelly has that dash charge, looking for the dash taunt, finds two, Teep included, but there just was nothing waiting for him on the other side. So one of the potential problems with this draft, Taco, is off of Athena taunt, you like to have stuff like Poseidon, Whirlpool, Kukulkan ultimate, stuff like that. Not a whole lot from Obey without Mancer there. DoctorL is here, and he's going to find Dwurst with the freeze. Another massive stun from Myflin, but it's not going to save Dwurst's life. Uses Brutalize to get up and over that wall, but the blue buff still went Elevate's way. Gryphon has shown up on this right-hand side while Mancer continues to stick to his side of the map. Mancer's going to get that tier 1 and left, but you can say the same about Elevate and right.
They're going to have to fall back here as far as Obey is concerned. There's really nothing that they can do missing Dwurst, because Dwurst is such a massive part of their front line. And I do agree, typically when you have that Athena taunt, you're looking for that big burst damage right after. And sure, Delta Marine can provide that, but he hasn't really had a chance to get as much gold as he would like to, and he can't be the sole proprietor for the sole provider for this.
Mancer dashes in, but Gryphon gets the better end. The agility forces out the Aegis. Now Gryphon has the ultimate if he wants to continue the chase. Knockup not quite gonna hit. Gryphon decides against it. Interesting decision. I'm surprised that he didn't want to go for that solo kill. I mean, they knew that Mancer was all alone on the left.
It's not even just that. He also had the lifesteal sustain, and he forced out Mancer's Aegis already.
Jelly uses his ultimate to get back into the fray. All of Elevate coming back from base. Obey was looking to collapse on a Nexamiss, but it's level 19. 19 on a solo laner with just a metric ton of HP between the Stone of Gaia and the Wingblade.
I think that this Stone of Gaia pickup has just really negated the Fenrir pick. Because Fenrir can provide a decent amount of damage, he can provide a solid amount of setup, but Myflin just, in game number 1, he was kind of just shut down because of how far behind he fell to that Nemesis selection.
Oh, Mancer. He's got someone coming around the back. There's the Nemesis ultimate. Beads never even get the chance to dash away. A quick kill. It goes under the belt of Elevate. Another tier 1 tower falls. That means all 3 in the grave for Obey. Only tier 2s left standing. 3-man grouping from Obey on this left-hand side as Myflin jumps in and looks for the ultimate, but Gryphon had the beads. No Stone of Gaia needed this time. Myflin needs something. He can't get out of danger. Never even got a chance to use the Aegis because it was on cooldown. Good ultimate out of Delta Marine. Puts DoctorL to the low capabilities, but not enough to find the kill. Elevate just continue to push forward up against Obey. DoctorL is going to have to use the Aegis here. Should be having the dash. There it is. Retribution Shield should be up soon as well, but Elevate really handling Obey.
Too much healing on the side as well, even with just the Chang'e being the only real factor of sustain. Delta Marine now, though, he's all out of mana. Luckily for him, Nexamiss isn't really interested in pursuing.
Tier 2 tower is going to fall. Elevate only has one more tower to take. Another 1,500 gold in their favor. This lead is getting out of hand, nearing that 10,000 gold mark, and if Elevate can secure this 3rd gold fury of the game, that would push it up above that 10K mark.
The other thing, too, is that they're securing all of this without the Fire Giant.
Yeah.
They don't even need the FG. They are just grouping, and their team fights are really just better. It's not, I mean, the draft from Obey really isn't as that strong, but either way, you can't deny in the slightest that Elevate are like not playing top of their game right now.
Obey going for the all-in Fire Giant call, but Nexamiss was in the neighborhood. He teleported in already, so no worries from him. Myflin, again, wants to use the ultimate there, but doesn't really get a chance to, though that Stone of Gaia is on cooldown now for Nexamiss, so maybe Myflin can look for him, though Shards of Ice, of course, giving Ymir that CC immunity that he would desperately need in that scenario.
Both DoctorL's and Kenshin's Stone of Gaias actually just came up, so now the only real targets that Myflin could potentially have, really, it's honestly just Nexamiss, unless somebody's beads get burned, but I guess Gryphon, but he has his ultimate as well, just for avoiding all of it. It's so hard to lock down this squad from Elevate.
Very mobile as well. Everyone outside of Nexamiss is very mobile, but Nexamiss is just too tanky to deal with anyways, so who cares? We can get around. Taunt on DoctorL, and immediately there's the ultimate on a Delta Marine. He gets into this apparate form. He's going to be able to escape. Myflin using that Ragnarok, just a CC immunity and movement speed, but it's still not going to be enough. Delta Marine has to use the beads. He's locked in the back harpies. Aegis prevents the damage coming through from that Ymir ultimate, but still Teep pokes him down to 1 HP.
And he's out.
And he's out.
Thanks to Nexamiss also providing a little bit of a zoning wall, but can't.
And he's out.
Actually, I think they did. Yeah, they were. That was secure by Delta Marine onto the speed buff, but same cannot be said maybe for this T2 tower. It is getting shredded.
1,500 more gold in Elevate's pocket. Obey looking for the fight. Taunt onto only Kenshin. Decent damage, but Shell is popped, and there's the freeze onto Jelly. Knocked up from Kenshin as well, and the wall is beautiful from Nexamiss. DoctorL is going to find his first of the game. 8 in total now for Elevate. We've got 3 to worry about. Myflin is going to make 4 as he just now respawns from his previous death. So Elevate going to back up. This Portal Demon should be up very shortly. I think that's the perfect call for Elevate. Back, spend all this gold that they've earned for themselves, and look towards the Fire Giant, but they don't think they need to back and spend this gold. Instead, they're going right for it. Dharmic Pillars are down. Frenzy is popped. Ultimate on a Mancer coming out of DoctorL forces him back out of this fight. Myflin and Dwurst can only stand and watch Elevate secure their first Fire Giant of the game.
There's really nowhere for Obey to even try and find the aggression, and I mean, this is really just them being on the back foot every single time. They're just constantly trying to get out. They can't even go in. They're just always looking to get out.
And that's just Nexamiss running at you, Nemesis running at you, Ganesha running at you. I mean, there's no getting away from a composition that's this mobile. Ganesha's pretty quick with that dash. Of course, Jing away about as mobile as it gets for hunters. Nemesis incredibly mobile. Plenty of movement speed for Chang'e. And oh yeah, even if you do start to get away, there's a wall coming out from Nexamiss.
These walls by Nexamiss too have been exceptional. Like we saw in game number 1 how well he was placing them, how well he was timing them, and it's kind of just been the same story. Typically you see it every now and then, and Ymir will accidentally wall the wrong way or whatnot, but speaking of walls, there's another onto Jelly trying to prevent his escape route. He is going to get out alongside of Myflin, but at the cost of Myflin's beads. And
we've seen just how quickly Myflin falls without that defensive relic there to help him. Mancer is here on the left side and trying to put the defense up. The only level 20 member on the side of Obey. No kills to his name quite yet. He's second on his team in player damage, third in the game. Good taunt from Jelly, actually catches DoctorL in the middle of his dash. Lord of the Afterlife and Supernova gonna confirm it. Now it's Obey on the aggressive. Myflin gonna finally find a target to pick up and put down. Nexamiss takes a couple Phoenix shots, but the Brazier of Undoing is huge. Elevate trying to re-engage for the time being. Obey realizing that maybe their advantage wasn't as big as they thought. That healing from Chang'e has become a real issue, and there is absolutely zero anti-heal coming out of Obey.
Which I'm actually a little bit surprised by, that they didn't opt for any anti-healing whatsoever, and it just becomes so much harder to try and burst down these targets when there's that easy sustain, and that's exactly what Elevate's choosing to fall back for. After losing DoctorL before he could really drop his ultimate because he was so focused on just getting out, I think that they're just going to wait for the reset, pick up this Gold Fury, buy a little bit more.
As if anti-heal wouldn't have been good enough with the Chang'e. I think that we saw how impactful that Bracer was for Nexamiss. Bracer, of course, affected by anti-heal and really excellent counterplay to that relic, so I think that would have really benefited Obey. Maybe a Brawlers instead of the Crusher there for Mancer after the Fatalis.
I could see. I actually like the Crusher pickup. Maybe a Brawlers over the Titan's Bane. I do think, though, that if he wanted to go Crusher, he should have definitely rushed the Brawlers as a priority over the Crusher or even a Titan's Bane, simply because, and there it is, he actually opted to sell and buy that Brawlers after what's been happening.
Starting to realize that that is a bit of an issue. No Pestilence or anything like that from either Dwurst or Jelly. Looks like Myflin likely to build a Brawlers in that 5th item slot once he sells the Bluestone Pendant, but he's going to need a little bit more gold. That's why you see him out in the jungle trying to find it for himself, but Elevate's going to bring the farm right to him, bringing that wave all the way down that right-hand side. Trying to push it into the Phoenix. We're 31 minutes in. Elevate doubling up Obey and kills 8-4. Got quite the gold lead as well, up almost 15,000. Fire Giant still on Elevate for about 25 more seconds. There's a dash taunt from Jelly, and it only hits on a Teep. Good Petrify forces out the beats from DoctorL, but Myflin is on the run. That Nemesis ultimate forces him out before the Ragnarok can be impactful. Right side Phoenix still standing as the shell goes through for Obey. Freeze onto 2 members, forces a Purification beats from Mancer. Phoenix getting chipped away and finally drops down. Gryphon, under no real pressure from Obey, was able to snag it away.
It just seems like they're not even taking damage.
They really aren't.
Elevate is just sustaining and healing so much, even with Mancer having picked up a Brawlers for that team fight. It's just not enough anti-heal.
I don't know if this is the pathing that Obey wanted. Around the side comes all of Elevate, the freeze on a Delta Marine, and he is gone this time. No 1 HP escape for Obey's mid laner. Myflin trying to do an escape of his own. Almost able to get past that wall, and it will be able to squeak through in between the Firebird and Ymir wall, but Dwurst cannot stop that onslaught onto the middle Phoenix. That's going down. DoctorL wraps around the backside, taunted by Jelly as Mancer returns, as does Myflin. No stun from that Unchained. Myflin decides to use the Brutalize and puts himself in a real bad spot. Has the Aegis, but jumps back in. There's the ultimate from both DoctorL and Myflin, but a perfect bait. But Mancer's autos just feel like they weren't doing any damage.
And that's kind of the unfortunate part, is that they're really not doing a ton of damage in comparison to Elevate's just overall tankiness and the fact that they are just they're healing so much.
All 3 Phoenixes are now down. Mancer cannot stop the backs of Elevate, except for Nexamiss. Gives him a friendly little wave, and then goes along his way.
They all have a decent bit of health alongside of that Stone of Gaia. I think, I mean, it's not solely on Mancer. Mancer has really been playing this game as best as he could, but itemization is definitely an issue here for pretty much a lot of the members on Obey. There's no anti-heal.
No
Mancer should have opted for the chins over the Fatalis. He doesn't really need that Fatalis. He's not dealing damage to these guys because of it.
I agree with you, and I think that a lot of times hunters can get baited into, well, the other hunter has Fatalis, so I need it too to box, but by the time you've both finished Fatalis, especially if you're building it 4th like Mancer did, a lot of the times laning phase is over with by then, and you don't need to be worried about what the other hunter's doing. You need to be worried about who you are actually hitting in these team fights. You're not kiting a Nemesis anytime soon, no matter if you have Fatalis or not.
Plus, you also have to consider that Fatalis is, what, like 100 less gold? It's like slightly less gold than an actual chins, and
is it more expensive than chins now? What?
It's 2650, I believe.
Okay,
so it's like 50 gold.
It's like 50
right. Or 100 gold less. 2600 or 2650.
Really, really close there, and I think I agree with you. Chin size would have been the right call. Obey, I just don't think they played that poorly in this set. Picks and bans are a little off in my mind, and then in game 1, you can really boil it down a lot, in large part, to Nexamiss just getting massive on that right-hand side. In this game, Elevate just played really, really well and itemized really well. That Stone of Gaia has completely shut Myflin down.
Myflin just has been targeted out, I think, in both of these games. Myflin and Dwurst really haven't been able to get anything going because every time they look for something, they're just countered.
Myflin has to use the Purification Beads to get away from the freeze from Nexamiss. Can't even pick him up and force that Stone of Gaia. Elevate's going right for the Titan. Delta Marine is forced back into his own fountain. Gryphon finds Myflin to put 10 on the board for Elevate. And Elevate keep their Valencia hopes alive. 2-0 over Obey.
And, I mean, that's got to be really exciting for the squad. And I do believe that they might need a little bit of help now in order to still make it there.
Soar is sitting at 5 points. This victory puts Elevate at 6. So Soar cannot afford to find 2 victories here. If it's 1 victory for Soar, that would mean a tiebreaker scenario between the 2 teams. So gotta have to wait and see. But first, we gotta recap what we just saw, because Mr. Teep and the rest of Elevate were just fantastic in this set.
And again, it was really just so well executed by Mr. Teep on this Chang'e. We haven't seen it in a little bit, but we know now why we haven't really gotten, or why Rival at least was looking to take it away. This Chang'e just came in super clutch. Every single ultimate was going pretty much max range stun.
It was very, very well played by Mr. Teep. I don't know, did he even die in that game? But he might not have died in this entire set. It was pretty impressive stuff from Elevate's mid laner. He and the rest of the squad keep their Valencia hopes alive. Now Obey, they lose a lot of momentum from this tackle going into Valencia. Now they need help from Soar in order to secure the first seed. Soar would need to prevent Astral Authority from getting any points in order to not force a tiebreaker for the top or just surpassing Obey for the top seed. We'll be talking a lot about this final set. You don't have to wait much longer. Quick break, then we've got the final set of the summer split of the SCL.